to call to order the Public Works and Engineering for May the 4th. Already.
I have, sir. Move to approve.
The agenda?
Believe so, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. First one I have for you this morning is a bid for our county exterminating services. Did receive one bid from Northwest Exterminating Company. Staff has recommended approval. They are our current provider.
This can be moved consent. Okay.
Next I have for you is a bid for elevator maintenance services. We did receive 5 submittals. One was non-responsive. Of the submittals we received, Otis Elevator Company was the lowest, most responsive bid. They are our current provider. Is recommended approval.
Couple of issues.
We were
Service or responsible for their work, or
it was issues getting parts and pieces and getting them here on time. Yes, sir. We reached out to several other companies and had them come in and provide quotes to us. If you go to the page 2 here, you'll see where we got their numbers. They're quite different. Schindler, which we had good success with, they want $12,000 to do our maintenance, whereas Otis is doing it for $2,500. It's just hard to come in here and recommend a 5-time increase on cost. We're going to stay on top of Otis. They're very aware of our concerns with their responsiveness. They are aware that if they are not responsive, that we will come back to you and explain to you that we are not getting good service out of them and move to the next one.
Yeah, let me go on record and say that we're going to recommend a 5-time increase if we can't get Otis to do their work. I'm frustrated with them. We're making this in good faith that we're going forward with them, but if they can't provide it, I'd rather pay $12,000 for good service than $2,500 for no service. So I'll just go ahead and say that out loud.
they are crystal clear.
They should be. If they're not, hopefully they'll hear this committee meeting and they will be crystal clear.
Schindler did our last repair, did they not?
We did get Schindler come in and do repairs in Harlem. They were able to knock it out in about 2 weeks versus several months we were dealing with Otis trying to get the problem solved. I'm not making any excuses for Otis. Otis was trying to fix a Schindler elevator, so Schindler was able to do it a lot faster. They had the parts and pieces, whereas Otis was trying to build them themselves. So, not making excuses for them, but it is easier to go with the manufacturer on some things.
Move to consent, sir.
All right, next I have for you, this is our Columbia County Performing Arts Center change order number 13. So, as we've been completing the PAC project over the last like 10 years, I believe it's about 3 or 4 years here, we've issued a lot of change directives, collected all those change directives. We've sat down with Ignite Construction and been through everything that's been done. It brings down to this final change order the amount of $657,389.40, an addition of 177 days to the contract. This covers everything that we've had to do. It was a lot of things we've talked to you about along the way that we've had to fix: handrails, audio visual stuff that we added after the fact, conduit that we added after the fact. That's, like I said, handrails, correct, awnings that were taken off and had to be rebuilt, orchestra pit, things that we asked them to do to make our lives easier, like changing the orchestra pit wall so we could remove it versus it being permanent, some additional aesthetic things, a long list. It does wrap everything up. 177 days, a lot of that was due to the COVID shutdown when everything kind of stopped moving.
I've asked conversation, ticket item, and
Yes, given the scope of it, and there's only 2 of us here, I'd like to move this debate.
Okay.
so moved.
Next one I have for you is a ordinance revision. Shepherd with AT&T has been working with staff on a revision to our wireless telecommunication facility ordinance. Basically, what it boils down is adding one section, one bullet point to that ordinance, and it basically says that if they're coming in with a application for an eligible facilities request, and I'll explain that involves adding access to first responders. So if they're coming in and building something for fire, EMS, police to be on that network, which we do have a first responders network, that we will work within 15 days of getting them their application approved, or notify them as to why they are not an eligible facility. Basically, eligible facility request is an existing facility they're looking to make amendments to, adding another antenna to it, changing out some equipment on the bottom of it. It does limit height. If you want to increase the height, depending on what's in the right of way, out of the right of way, it's either 20 foot or 10 foot or 10%. There's a whole list of things, and this is in federal law that we're required to do it within 60 days. We are looking to do it faster to help move forward first responders. We're looking to move that down to 15 days. That's what this ordinance does. And Mr. Shepherd's here if you have any questions from their side of it, from the industry side of it. We'll be happy to answer any questions.
How does this compare? Like moving, y'all can move ahead with projects. State your name and
Stan Shepherd, as Matt said, with AT&T. I do live at 366 Farmington Drive in Evans. And as Matt very well pointed out, this is to try to push the timelines along, especially when it comes to first responder networks. For us, that's the FirstNet network, but that's not necessarily just for us. It's for other companies as well. This is, quite honestly, somewhat of a model nation. We have worked with Columbia County over the years on things similar to this. One reason that Columbia County was a target for us is because you're working within that 15 days already. When we talk to our third party that normally submits those permits, it's around a 10-day turnaround now. So we didn't see it as a heavy lift for this county. So it is, like I say, somewhat of a model that we would like to point to. It will help speed along these first responder network additions that we have. Thank you.
No, sir.
thank you, Stan.
This will need to go to debate because it is an ordinance change.
Move to consent, sir.
Debate.
I'm sorry, debate. Yeah.
Mr. Titus?
Yes, sir. Good morning. Bear with me. The county clerk's been working with staff on new nomenclature, naming convention for these streetlight districts. So the way I read this is going to sound a little different, just a tracking number. So the first item we have for you is a public hearing on the proposed establishment of streetlight district number 2022.536B for Anderson Farm, Section 2, 2022-538 Halls Creek, 2022.533B Kalari, Section 5B, 2022-505C, Royal Oak and Linsmore, Section 2, 2022.514F Whispering Pines, Section 5A, and 2022.529B Wrights Farm, Section 2. Staff received a petition from the residents and/or developers of the following subdivisions for the installation of streetlights. Power company's cost proposals for the proposed districts are shown below. Public hearing notifications were mailed to property owners and advertised in the Columbia County Times as required per code. Commission, we would like to open this up to public hearing. Staff will document any comments.
Public hearing is open. Comments? Close the public hearing.
The next item we have is a resolution for the same, resolutions 22-15 through 22-20 to establish streetlight districts in Anderson Farm, Section 2, Halls Creek, Kalari, Section 5B, Royal Oak and Linsmore, Section 2, Whispering Pines, Section 5A, and Wrights Farm, Section 2. Staff recommends approval of the first of two readings for Resolution 22-15 through 22-20 to establish streetlight districts.
So
In August, I believe. October.
October.
October. Talked about this multiple times. I know y'all a lot of work on policy or
We,
place.
yes, sir. We have a pre-final draft. We are meeting with Georgia Power later this week to sit down with them for a final review before we put it before county management. And
Is this a consent item?
The streetlight funds is gonna require two readings, so. it needs to be
This is the
debated.
first reading, all right. The debate.
So move.
next item we have for you is Resolution 22-21 to amend Hidden Creek Section 8 Streetlight District. Staff received a request from a resident to install additional streetlights. We contacted Georgia Power and requested they reevaluate the district to see if the light was warranted. Upon the completion of their findings, they believe an additional light is warranted. On a new pole on Gilman Court, annual utility cost will be $210.72. Upfront pole cost, $481.75. And an upfront boring cost of $1,846.40. Staff recommends adoption of the resolution.
This is not changing a fee. We're not adding any cost to anyone, so this can go to Doug.
All right, move to consent too.
Next item we have is a contract with Peak Pavement Markings for Columbia County's fiscal year 2022 striping budget B. For
You
restriping.
skipped
I
one.
think we missed.
I apologize. This item is a proposal from Georgia Power to provide safety lighting at the intersection of Baker Place Road and Kalari Way. Staff received a request from a resident to evaluate the need for safety lighting. Staff conducted a study, and study warranted. We reached out to the power company. They have proposed to install a safety light on an existing pole with an annual utility cost of $932.04. Staff recommends approval.
Yes, debate.
We heard one. We heard debate and consent. You
I'm
can't
sorry.
do the consent.
No, move to consent. My
So
apologies.
move. Sorry.
No, sir.
Okay. This next item is a contract with Peak Pavement Markings for Columbia County fiscal year 2022 striping budget, striping project B. This is to restripe, install new RPMs, erase pavement markers and stop bars along Government Center Way, Faircloth Drive, Blue Ridge Road, High Meadows Drive, Winfield Road, Field Hills. This will be paid for out of IPTF. The contractor will have 30 days to perform the work from issuance of notice to proceed. Staff recommends approval.
This is funded then, so it can go to consent? All right. Yes, sir.
This next item is Resolution 22-22 on the creation of a no parking zone at the entrance of Whispering Pines subdivision. There have been some issues with some parents picking up students parking in the Whispering Pines at the intersection, causing traffic delays, traffic congestion. Staff's been out there to investigate. There are some no parking signs there that are not placed legally. However, we do feel that they're warranted. There are two signs there. We think that the intersection is about 200 feet from the intersection, 250 feet from the intersection, warrants a no parking zone. So staff is recommending approval, and with the approval, we will work with the HOA to have 4 no parking signs installed. Staff recommends approval.
This our first reading on this, or
This is a consent item, if you,
just the
don't
consent?
you-
Move to consent.
Move.
This next item is for signage post upgrades for the plaza. This is basically in an effort to spruce up the downtown plaza to kind of give it more of that downtown feel instead of a industrial feel. This is a request for a sole source to purchase decorative sign poles and sign backers in the amount of $39,468.85 PAPCO. Along with everything else, shipping's gonna take a little while on the material, so we're expecting the items to be shipped within five weeks from ordering, and once they're received, if you approve, Roads and Bridges will install the new sign post. Staff recommends approval.
A little more background on this. So this came about after a request from the PAC staff about some additional signage out there to kind of help traffic flow. While we're out there, we were looking at what needed to be moved and relocated, and I asked Mr. Tice if he would look into, as we're putting new signs out there, to do something more decorative to match the light poles, match the facades, just kind of, like he said, make it look more appealing downtown versus our square tubes that are, so that's how we got there. We have some signs we need to put in, and I asked him to look into it.
Move to consent.
Signs that are up. How are we going to move forward?
Georgia Power put out, I don't know what the system's called, but they have a system where they notify all the utilities of poles being removed, and they have 120 days to respond. That's been probably 180 days ago. I'll reach out to Georgia Power again and find out where we are on that. I'm not sure if Mr. Shepherd's still here. I'm not sure if they have anything on those lines. So we're pushing Georgia Power. We do. Georgia Power does have an easement that we granted. I think y'all are already underground.
Yeah, I think it's just Comcast, or
Wow, Comcast. But Georgia Power does have an easement there. They are very understanding that we want that removed. They're working hard to get those folks off their poles.
The next item we have is a contract with Augusta Industrial Services for the Windmill Plantation Stormwater Rehab Project. This is the basically UV line, nearly 1,500 linear feet of corroded storm drain pipes, corrugated metal pipes primarily, and all the work that's associated with that. The project amount is, the contract amount would be for $420,622.65. It would be paid out of 1722 lost, and the contractor would have 100 days to proceed. Staff recommends approval.
Already funded, move to consent.
The next item we have is acceptance of improvements at 422 Lewiston Road. This is acceptance of 2 permanent sewer easements. Serve the property across from Popeyes. It will be contingent upon staff's final approval. Staff recommends acceptance.
Move to consent.
Next item is acceptance of improvements for Grimaud Farm, Section 2. The acceptance of improvements to include the road, storm, water, and sewer systems, along with the rights-of-way and easements associated with these improvements. This is not for the acceptance of any funds. Staff recommends approval. Sir.
Lot size. One of them. Fairly under it. But they need to. If it's
Trying to pull it up, scrolling down to it. .49.
I don't want somebody to
Right, I understand.
get caught up somewhere down the road and lot not be big enough for,
Right. Well, the item you're dealing with here doesn't actually affect that lot. You're only accepting right of way, so that would be, the actual plat would be approved through planning commission, you're aware. So is this been through planning commission already, Scott?
Don't recall, but we can certainly follow up. and
Dig into it. We'll let you know before
I
Tuesday.
understand we
Right.
improvements, but I just saw that when I was.
Yeah, the lot next to them is big enough that if they need to shift that line over 6 inches to make it work, have to do an amended plat if needed.
Move to consent, sir.
Okay, this next item is for acceptance of improvements for Highland Lakes Phase 3. In the original packet, it's named Highland Lakes Phase 3. However, yesterday, the developer requested to change the name to Highland Lakes Section 1-C to remove some ambiguity with their development. So the new name is Highland Lakes Section 1C. Is that correct, Ms. Crowley? So this is for the acceptance of improvements to include the road, storm, water, and sewer systems, along with the right-of-way easements associated with these improvements for Highland Lakes Section 1-C. There are no detention ponds accepted or dedicated. Staff recommends.
Move to consent, sir.
And the last item I have for you is for the acceptance of supplemental right-of-way along Roundtree Way, basically to serve necessary roadway improvements that will serve the Lidl grocery store. Staff recommends acceptance of the right-of-way.
Move this to debate, sir.
Yep, that's the right thing. Thank you. Yep.
Legal matters, Mr. Driver.
I've included the water utility year-to-date budget report and the water and sewer construction reports for your, answer any questions you may have.
Outside the norm.
Typically in the springtime, when we start using more water and everybody starts watering their lawn, it does stir stuff up that's settled over the winter. So we tend to get a lot of calls in the springtime for that.
No, sir.
Commissioner, a public comment?
Move those to debate, sir.
To the full
To the
board.
full board.
I'm
It
sorry.
won't be on the debate agenda, it'll be on the, yep.
Full board.
Or adjourn?